Welcome back to Well-Oiled Operations. Today, I'm kind of pulling back the curtain a little bit, and you're getting some Q&A where we've got some real clients asking some really good questions that you might want to hear the answer to. Now, I've got 4 questions that I pulled that are very, very different. So I'm going to say what they are, and feel free to skip ahead to where that is. In fact, go to your podcast app, look at the show notes, find that timestamp, and skip to where you want, unless you're like, I just want to hear what she has to say and what direction it heads, because you just never know what's going to come up. So we're talking about things like how to pre-qualify clients before taking sales calls, making sure they're actually qualified, touching base on how to introduce the price during the sales call and how to navigate some objections, talking about elevating, this is a big one, elevating a right-hand position that is at a level 3 pay, but they're really doing level 1 work, and how to start that conversation. Oh, so good. Advice on physical locations, signing a new lease, working with landlords. And then last, how to avoid shiny object syndrome when it comes to social media, leveraging what is already working for the best ROI. Okay. So again, if you're ever interested in what it looks like to come work with us instead of Well-Oiled, and what types of questions are being asked and how you could get your question answered, I wanted to sprinkle these episodes in here and there to give you a taste of what it is inside of Well-Oiled Operations. So enjoy. Hi.
Right. I have a question. Just when people send people to an application funnel for a program, like on a Google form, they're filling it out. What do you just come out and say, hey, this is the price of the program. Are you willing? Do you realize this and commit? Like, how do you pre-qualify them before you take your time to get on a call? Are you blunt and just say it? Or is there some other questions you qualify them with?
Yeah. Okay. Good question. So this all depends on where you're at and what you're trying to do. So for instance, I've had it where they say, take as many sales calls as you can possibly take because you have to practice. So like I've had sales coaches say, you are not turning down anybody. I don't care if they're not qualified. This is you practicing how to get good for the good ones coming in. Because if you get too strict with yourself right now, you won't have the mastery of sales. So by the time somebody does come along that's like perfect, you will not have practiced enough to understand how to close.
Okay.
And like the most unqualified people will give you the biggest challenge, which will make you even better. Okay. Now, if you're like, no, I really don't have time, I only can take X amount of calls and I'm going to have more calls than time allotted, then you can get strategic with your calendar. So you can absolutely say, are you willing to invest in a program that would help you solve X problem at this price point? Okay. You might not even say price point. You might just say, are you willing to invest in a program if it solved your 3 major struggles? Okay. Yes, no, maybe, depending on price or something, right? Then you might go, I don't even want that. I want to know if they would spend X amount of dollars. Now, you really might get somebody who doesn't fill that out just because they're like, I don't want to spend 500 or I want to spend 300 or whatever it is. But then a good salesperson can remove objections, right? Like we'll get somebody who would never think they would spend $10,000 on a program. And after a sales call with us, they're like, I need this so bad. So it just depends on where you want to be or what you want to do. On Wednesday, when I launch it to my active challengers, I'm just saying the price up front because I know that we are not going to have enough space for calls. So I actually need people to self-select because of that reason. But if we didn't, I wouldn't say the price.
Okay. And then I have a pretty decent sales script, but at the end, like what I've heard is basically like, you just are like quiet and you wait for them to say, okay, well, how do I sign up? And then you tell them the price, or how do you actually like get to the point where like, well, here's the link in the chat. You can click on it and put in your information.
Yeah. So it's super awkward when you're like helping somebody decide if they're a good fit and then you're trying to pitch them. The one sentence I make everybody say, which I just think it feels good for the client too, is we'll say, Natalie, it really sounds like you'd be a good fit for Well-Oiled Operations. Would you like to hear more about it? Okay. Now, last week, somebody said to Sarah, no. And we said, no problem. Okay. I don't want Sarah to sit here and talk to you about our program when you have 0 interest in it. Right. So that lady got to leave. Sarah didn't have to go through her spiel for no reason, but everybody else is saying, yeah, I'd love to know more. Right. And you can even hear the way they say yes, how much they want to know. And then you don't have to feel weird pitching. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Then,
it's different than like a webinar. You're not going through like, well, it's this and it's this and it's this. It's like, they already kind of know a little bit. Hopefully by the time they get on, they should be pretty warm. And so it's literally like, would you like to hear more about it? They say yes. And then you're like, Okay, well,
it depends. Like, are they signing up because they already know this? I want this program. Okay. So it's more about like what the program has to offer. So I would start by saying, like, I want to just make sure you're a good fit before we go into this. And then at the end, it's like, okay, I think you are a good fit. Would you like to hear the details of it? And then they are going through the stack. One thing we say at the end before we say price, because this is really important. Before we say price, we'll say, okay, so far, how does this sound? Like, does it sound like a good fit for you? Price aside, because they'll be like, well, what's the price? It's like, no, price aside. Does this even sound like something you're interested in? Okay. Because if they're like, no, it's really not a good fit. It's like, great. Don't even go into the price. Right. But if they're like, no, this is, I definitely know I need this. Like, I really want to help my brother or my dad or whoever. Right. So all of a sudden you say the price and now they're like, whoa. So you can say, so wait a minute. So price aside, you wanted this program. So this is a price thing, right? You want to figure out their true objection. If you say the price with a stack and they're like, no, they might just not have wanted the program. Yeah. They might have been like, I don't need any of this stuff. This does not sound fun to me, right? You want to know they're committed before you show price. And then if it's really just a price objection, now we break down the price.
Okay, perfect.
Does that help?
Yeah, so much. Thank you.
Yeah. And then, so if somebody's like, okay, I need to think about it, all right, whatever. First of all, you can say at the end, any other questions, any other things you want to know? Nope. This sounds great. This sounds great. Okay, great. Do you want to get started today? I can send the link right now. We can take care of it right now. Let's get you going.
And that's the first time they hear the price?
The first time they hear the price is after you've said the stack and they've said, yes, I need this. It's like, great. Here's the investment. You bust the pricing objections. Then when they're like, okay, I want to do this. It's like, okay, great. Usually a lot of people say, I just want to think about it a little bit. Right.
Yeah.
And then one of the things we say is like, what is holding you back from buying it right now? What objection or what, like, what are you still unsure of? I just want to make sure I help you before you get off the call. You want to hear their real objection. It's like, I need to talk to my spouse. Okay, great. That's totally fine. But you want to hear what it is.
Okay.
You want to only bust the objection. You do not want to go off on a tangent on something else.
Okay.
So sales calls never look the same.
Yep. Got it. Thank you. It's so helpful.
No problem. All right. Let's start bringing people on. Shelly, bringing you on first. Hi, Shelly.
Oh my gosh. I have smoothie.
That's okay. No worries.
We're in lunch, but I'm like, I so want to be here on the,
I love it.
So my question is that, with our hiring, well, one is thank you for the staff retreat outline.
Okay.
We're planning ours the end of October. I'm doing 2 days.
Amazing.
And yours is like, I'm like, this is like gold.
Perfect.
This is like worth the investment, because I was like, how do I do this?
Oh my goodness. I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah. So the biggest thing we're doing the growth plan, our own version of it. And I'm really elevating my right-hand person into the role. We're hiring an accountability advisor. And then once that person gets up to steam, then I'm elevating my person. So I'm trying to figure out like just the whole flow of the conversation. Like I checked with her. I'm like, are you still in? She doesn't even know what the position is because I don't fully know, but she's like, yeah, I'm all in. Because I have to navigate. She's at the highest tier of pay right now. She's like being paid at a very high on that growth chart. So I have to navigate. Obviously, I'm not going to knock her pay down. It's just,
this is how I would do it. Okay. So just so everybody's listening, so they can get value out of this too, is Shelly is saying somebody came in, she started paying her very high. Now she's looking at the growth chart that we gave and she's like, she's not really doing a lot of the stuff that the high tier would be making. She's kind of like in the lower tier with the higher pay. How many of you have been in this situation, right? So what you can do is really map this out of like all the levels, what you're thinking. And you basically show her right now, like you could say something like, what responsibilities or what levels do you feel you have, right? So then all of a sudden she might say to you, well, I actually do think I'm this level. Like I'm a level 1. I'm making this up. I think I'm level 1. She's getting paid for level 3. In that situation, this is an easy conversation because it's like, I agree. I think you are at a level 1, but don't worry. We're going to talk through this. Like you're not just getting demoted. Like, let's talk through this. The plan would be to say, you can either actually be at a level 1 and stay here and know that that would be your pay rate, or in the next 6 months, we need to get you doing the responsibilities of level 3 if you want to stay there. Okay.
Okay.
Here's where it gets difficult is when she says, oh, I think I'm at level 3. And you're like, no. Right. So you have to say, when she says, oh, I think I'm at a level 3, you'll just say, okay, so what roles are you taking on that are in that level 3 category? Mm-hmm. It's possible she believes she's doing some of those things, but you are like, well, listen, I still double check that, or I still have to like ask you 3 times to do that. So what a real true level 3 would look like is that is off my plate. I never think about it. And I know 100% that you've gotten it done. I don't have to double check it. So the goal is you don't worry, you're not getting demoted, but we've got to get you to a true level 3 in 6 months for us to stay doing what we're doing. So she's got a plan, a timeline to work through it. Does she want it? Does she not? Sometimes they think they're a level 3. They start doing level 3 work and they're like, can I maybe go down to level 1? Because they don't want it once they see what it is, or they see they're not capable of it.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
And then it really does set the stage though for her pay would go lower.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not as big as a deal as you think. Sometimes people are like, I don't want to be a manager. I would rather do this. Right. And if she does want the pay, then she has to earn it by the activities and tasks and KPIs or ownership of whatever it is you're giving her.
Totally.
Or we need to pick a different position or a different task, or you know what I mean? Like sometimes it's like, okay, then you don't want to go that route. Well, let's look at maybe something else that we have. And you might not have anything else. So you might not be able to say that, right?
Right. No, it's a delicate situation. So I was just like, it was exciting that she was, I know she's capable and I know she wants it. So I think we can get there. I think it's just a matter of framing, like within 6 months, this needs to happen for this.
And I would say all of that. I think you're capable. I can see the drive in you. I think you're the right person. Will you go on this journey with me for the next 6 months to try to get you there? Because I'm all in. Are you all in?
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Because it really would be what I really need is her to take the ownership of supervising the accountability advisor, the renewals, reactivations, upsells, like the broader strategic support with that. And
get really clear on those KPIs to show her like, what does that look like?
Yeah. Because that's huge, and for her to really look at, the program development and all of that. So,
and then any of Sarah's calls that you see on the calendar, she'd be great to go and ask her any tips, strategies, KPIs, suggestions, all of that. She'd be great for that on her live calls. And then eventually, if this girl says, yes, I want to do it, you could bring her in the program and have her go to Sarah's calls.
Got it.
And come with her questions and her struggles and all the things.
Exactly. No, that'd be huge because I was like, okay, what kind of support do I need her to have to just really step into that role and take ownership of it?
Yeah.
So, this
is great. Does that help?
So
okay.
Yeah.
And honest conversation, where did this happen? Where did this stem from? Did she just say a price and you said, okay, and that's how she got hired?
No, it was she is a rock star. She's extraordinary. Okay. And what happened is her cousin came to her and offered her a position, and she loved working with us, but she just said, for my family, like and so I just like went to bat for her. I'm just like, we'll match your salary.
Yeah. This happens, right?
I'm like, is this worth it? And I'm like, yeah. And and she really does contribute.
Okay. And here's the thing. I have done that too, where I've gone to bat to be like, I will pay more, but then there is more responsibility that comes with it. A lot of times it's like, you can just keep doing what you've been doing, but we're just going to pay you this much more. And that's where you maybe take that responsibility of like, we should have reset your responsibilities when we did this and we didn't. And I apologize for not being clear, but we really have to get on the same page now that you're at this rate. When I look at the growth chart, here's what I notice. We got to get you doing the activities that match that salary.
Totally. Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to bring up anything about demoting, lower pay, nothing. You can just say you are a level 3 for pay, but the activities are not the level 3. We have to get you there in 6 months. Are you willing to take this on? Are you willing to get this done in 6 months? That might be the easiest way to do it if you think she's your girl. Like if you're happy and you're like, no, she's it. I'm just not being clear, or I'm not setting the intentions. We don't have these KPIs. Then you could do that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Thanks, Shelly. Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. What's your question?
Okay. So I have a lease that I'm probably going to be signing this week. But I'm freaking out. I've done the numbers. So I just want to kind of get your feedback, or maybe something you're not seeing, or I'm not seeing. I hired an architect. I hired a lawyer to look over everything. The architect was to see if the space planning was going to work.
Okay.
I didn't want to get into something and sign a lease and it not work. So one of the options is a yes. I got 2 contractors to give me quotes on how much it's a huge build out. It's going to cost anywhere from 100 to 150,000.
Okay.
10-year lease. However, it's such an amazing monthly rate.
Okay.
That I would be, that I'd be in 5 years. Basically, I'd be paying the difference. If I went somewhere else, some of the other places I was looking at were double, even though it wouldn't be a build out, I'd be paying that in rent, It
would add up. Yeah.
Yeah, it would add up. So it feels very strange to be putting that much money into something that is not, like, the building's not mine.
Yeah. I mean, my tenant put $200,000 into my space.
They did.
Yes. Okay. Which, as a landlord, I was like, holy cow, my building just went up $200,000. You know what I mean? Like, I was ecstatic. But people do this.
Okay.
Yeah. My first build out was 70,000 in a strip mall and I was only there for 3 years, and I bought.
Oh, wow.
Building. You're at least going to get 10 years out of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's feeling better. He's going to pay for the ADA restroom build out. So that's 50,000 just.
Yeah. I was gonna say those can be crazy.
Yeah. And he's giving me free rent until I have to move next April. So from here until then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the monthly payment with the 150,000, is that a loan, or is that you have to come up with that money?
No, it's money that I have that's essentially loan. I have it. Yes. It's like,
you already have it. Okay.
I have it.
So you're going to be paying that up front, and then you're paying the monthly lease.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And you're saying the monthly lease, though, getting into this place. I mean, here's the thing. You're marrying somebody for 10 years.
Yeah.
Do you love this landlord? Like, do you think this is the location? Like, do you want to stay there for 10 years?
I love the location. It's in the neighborhood. It's only a block away. I really love our space, and just thinking about, like, recession and next year, and I don't want to move neighborhoods. And San Francisco, it's like you move 2 neighborhoods away and everyone's like, oh, I'm going to stay. So it's smart to stay. And the block is great. And we're located in between a restaurant and a bar.
Yep.
So
how exciting would this be for, let's say you want to get out of here in 3 years. Would somebody look at this lease and go, I'll take this over for you?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Because you're not stuck.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's part of the lease negotiations right now, is making sure that I can assign it to somebody and be,
Perfect. Then it's not as scary.
Okay. Thanks.
It's a big deal, which is why you feel nervous.
It's huge. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But, like, do you like the landlord? Do you feel like you're going to have a good relationship with him or her?
Yeah. It was him. We did meet, and he wants to keep me. I mean, he likes that I've been in the neighborhood and in business for 10 years. And
right. It sounds like you're going to stick around. So he's excited.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If you're scared about the 150, I mean, just make sure, like, when I got my first build out, I remember, like, an architect, they put in all the stuff. Right. And I'm like, what can I not spend? Like, what can I, or not even that. It's like the 150 goes into, like, the permanent building you can't ever get out. It's like, what could you, like, for instance, they wanted to put in these, like, gorgeous cabinets. And I was like, no, we'll take the cabinets away. And then my husband just installed them. Do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, like, and then I can take those things with me, or I can make sure that it's something that can come off the wall or anything like that. So just be careful that you're not overspending with the architect. Like, if there's anything you can get removed. And sometimes I'll even say to somebody, okay, listen, I want to do it. The 150 is a little high. If I want to get this down to 125, what would you cut out for 25,000? Like, what do you think I could get rid of? And then they start brainstorming with you, and you could lower it a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Some of that stuff was it's part of the building. It's like upgrading electrical floors, the plumbing,
Did you get 3 quotes?
I got 3 quotes, and they're all right around the same.
Perfect. Okay. Then this is nothing like screaming red flag.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're so welcome. Sorry. Okay. I like when people ask me these questions, because it's like, it feels so scary. And then it's like, it sounds pretty normal, right? And then it just makes people feel a little bit better. So I love having these types of questions. All right, Heather, bringing you on. Oh, you're muted.
I'm muted.
There we go. There we go.
Here today. We're technically closed today. My brain is just not in the
No
works.
worries.
So I guess, I'm thinking on all the things. I definitely have to work on my profit margin. I definitely, I have plans on going back to old clients, letting them know what we now offer. For example, many of them, when I was looking at the lists, were not with us when we offered math, which is growing,
Cool.
Things like that. And I actually, this sounds very minor, I know, in the world of internet sales and stuff, but I actually had a client reach out through Instagram over the weekend, which is not where I usually get clients. Usually clients start lurking around my Facebook page and like word of mouth, and I can tell when they're coming. And that was really exciting too, because I've really been trying to pay more attention to social media and being more consistent in all of that. So I guess my question is, thinking about what you said about quick, return, high return, I'm feeling a little shiny object syndrome, and I'm not quite sure where to sort of start and begin, if that makes sense.
Yep. So like even just mentioning the Instagram thing, and this is such a common thing, right? Because it happens once and we're like, oh my goodness, I'm missing all of these people on Instagram. I need to do Instagram tomorrow, right? But you even said it yourself, like that's not normally where you get it. So I'm not saying Instagram's a bad idea, but when we're looking at moving as fast as possible and leveraging what you have, I wouldn't think Instagram first if it's not where they're already coming from.
Okay.
Because you probably have to like go into a whole strategy and like rework this, and right. Because if you only got one person and you've been trying it, probably not ideal at the moment. Right. So the question really becomes like, where is the biggest opportunity first that is already working? Okay. And this is where what I was saying to Philomena, maybe you're like, well, but the math thing is new, but oh my goodness, we already know that math is popular and people are doing it. And if our old people knew this, so this is where it's like, okay, let's test it. Let's try it. Right. So I did a challenge 2 weeks ago and I did a webinar last week. I would have assumed the challenge would have done better than the webinar. I'm just a challenge girl. That's usually where all my people come from. Shockingly, the webinar was night and day better than the challenge. Okay. It wasn't that I was already looking at shiny object. I was just like, well, I can't do 2 challenges back to back in a week. Like I would be dying. So I'm like, I guess I'll do my second best thing second. But now that I just see what happened, I'm like, scrap the next challenge, doing another webinar. Right. So I'm taking educated guesses too. But as soon as I get my data, I'm going, oh, over here, right? Like go where it's working, go where you're getting it. So that's what I want you thinking about. Like not all the things you could be doing. I want you thinking about the best things you think you could be doing.
Okay. No, that's really helpful. I think one of the projects I've had in my mind is to do a mailer into a local, geographically, we're 2 hours north of New York City. There are suburbs between us and New York City where our pricing would be very affordable. Whereas, some of our families are struggling up here. So I was thinking of doing a mailing into that area.
Because would these be virtual or would they come in?
Virtual, not in person. In person's in danger again. So I'm still thinking of that. So I think this would be virtual. And again, math and literacy tutoring. So that's probably a good educated guess. I've never done it before. So it's definitely calculated, but even if 5 clients turned up from it, it would be worth it.
Yeah. And do the math on that. Like figure out your number going in. I need X amount to make it worth it. So like the webinar last week, I spent a certain amount of money ads and I was like, I just need one person to buy from this webinar and it totally made its money back. Right. So know the numbers and then it is a gamble. There's a chance that I don't make that money back. Right. But I'm learning from what did happen. Did we get any phone calls? Did we get any, right? It's like, start like going down that rabbit hole.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if I was looking at profit margin and now you're like, but I am going to spend on this, you could ask yourself, what would be something with just my email list that I could message just my current people that haven't taken math yet? Would that be something? Because like that could even fund the mailer versus starting with the mailer, putting out that cost out when your goal was already profit margin.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I have to do a lot of work on my email list. It's been a little neglected.
Okay.
So,
Just that's things to think about. And again, to remember the intention. Now that you said profit margin, I'm like, is the best thing for you to spend money on something you've never tested before?
Okay.
Not if you're trying, like if you were like, we're in a growth year, I just want revenue. We are throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks, get more and more people. I think it would have been a different story versus what you just said you wanted. That might not be the most profitable thing you do. Just something to consider.
Yeah, no, definitely. It makes a lot of sense. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Have you done any kind of referral or told or asked your people to refer or done anything like that?
Not yet. That's also in the works. That's one of my.
So do you see what I'm saying? You got free stuff you could be doing before you gamble on the mailer.
No, that's
just something to consider.
And I was thinking of doing one for my tutors as well for referring families because again, I'm doing all the work finding the families. And if they picked up that piece, that would be really helpful as well. So, so it might make sense to start there in terms of short-term gains.
Yeah. Okay. And at least if you gamble and it didn't work, you didn't really pay anything for it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. No, that makes a lot of sense. And it's a little less scary to think about designing mailers and making that happen.
Cool.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Stacy.
Thanks, Heather.